It's the music, it's the movies, it's the people, all the things that are feeding into your brain that cause you to say these things. How do you break out of it? Honestly, I would say number one.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today I have my great friend and brother, Leo Valentino here. So welcome back to the lovely Louisville, bro.
Thank you very much.
Just continue, the way I like to do these is continuing. We was having a great chat before the cameras came on and the beautiful people joined us. So I like to just kind of continue that conversation. We was talking about what we've been building, what we've been working on. We was talking about community building and some of your superpowers. So tell us about you, where you're from, and let's delve right back into that conversation.
Yeah, my name is Leo Valentino. I have been an entrepreneur since I could remember. When I was 10, I used to play Minecraft and I would make those little servers, those communities. I started making money there. And I started doing digital graphics for people, selling candy. I started to basically do anything I can to hustle. As I told you, I would always look up at the age that I was. If I was 11, I would look up how to make money at 11. 12, I would do the same thing until I learned patterns. And I've always done that up and even to this point where, you know, I understand so much more about business. I understand my strengths. I understand what I'm good at, what I'm not so good at. And we've built multiple businesses now where I've basically treated life as, you know, my playing ground in my university.
Yeah. There's something I want to delve into in a moment about your mindset. And, you know, we met, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
And it was very interesting to me because in that 3 years, you've had so many quantum leaps. And it's been impactful, but before we get into your mindset and how you do that, I want to talk a little bit about 3 years ago when we met.
Okay.
Where were you in your mindset and how did we connect?
3 years ago, that was during COVID times, right?
Yeah.
So that was when I was first delving into real estate. I had done one real estate deal, my first wholesale deal. And I was learning how to connect and collaborate with people. To learn. You know, I was going through Clubhouse, and that's when I would freak out. I had a conversation with Grant Cardone, and I was freaking out. I didn't know what that meant, but I was like, oh, that person's one conversation away. You know, so then I started to ask more people for help and ask people for advice, and one person told me, sat down with me, said, Leo, you can't leech from people. You can't just ask these busy people for help. You got to bring value. So that's where I learned, okay, how can I bring value? How can I bring value? So I started to just bring the best energy I can to each conversation. And what would happen there is they would always say, oh, dude, it's like a breath of fresh air when we're together. You know, because I don't talk much about business. I kind of just say, how are you? How's everything around you? How's your soul? And what happened was this brother named Noah, he brought me around to the houses in the Bay Area, and we were doing door knocking together. And I started to say, hey, let me add some value. Let me coach your son on personal training, because that's what I was doing for a while, because I knew how to train people and how to get fit. I started to train his son, and because of that value exchange, he looked at me and says, Leo, I want to take you to a real estate event. I want to pay for you. I want to have everything taken care of. Just figure out how to get there. So I went to my mom. I said, Mom, you know, I want to go to this real estate event, but it's in the midst of COVID. She's like, fuck COVID, just go. You know, it doesn't matter. And that's when I started to break through also the programming. I was like, but it's COVID and, you know, all this stuff. She's like, no, you don't do anything. Just honestly go. If they tell you wear a mask, say fucking go. Just go to the event. And my mom's a great person, by the way. You know, so I went, and that's where we met. But I kept that philosophy going of add value first before asking for anything.
That's good. And something I want to, because you've helped me tremendously with my health. Everybody who knows me from before knows that when we became friends, I dropped 45 pounds because you kicked my butt, got me going to the gym. So thank you for that. But you've changed my life in terms of confidence as well. And so I want to delve into that a little bit. Where does your mindset come from? Because you have tremendous confidence. And that was something I think when I first met you that stood out to me, because you was, 17, 18? And you was so humble. So you wasn't arrogant at all, but you had great confidence. So where does that stem from? Because that's grown even more in the last several years since I've known you?
I think it came from a couple people in my life that have taught me different lessons. And as you go throughout life, you get instances where you choose one way or another, right? You can choose to be confident or not confident, and you get that lesson, that instant, like, okay, next time let's do that. Next time let's do that. The more of those you stack up, the sooner you start to understand, like, every instance that comes up, how to act. And then that builds the confidence behind you because you have so much experience behind you of choosing different instances. So when I worked at the post office, that is where I started to stack up a couple wins. For example, I would wake up at 2 a.m. every single morning.
It's early.
And my mom would be up. She didn't play video games, but she would love during COVID to play the video games. She would play till 2 a.m. I would wake up at 2 a.m. She would cook me breakfast. I mean, like, I love my mom so much. She would cook me breakfast, and I would go to work at 4 a.m. and I started to do my morning routine. I was like, oh, I'm up before everybody else. So a little bit of a psychological competitiveness of like, okay, I'm up, I'm working, I'm 18, I'm hustling. And I met someone at this job, at this post office job, where you would basically, all the packages you get at your front doors, because I was scanning it and throwing it into the crates. And I met this guy who was at my same level. His name was Jay. And Jay was like a kung fu master type of guy. And he would always just tell me, like, no emotion. Like, don't be emotional. Like, understand your intelligence comes from your mind. And I just thought he was like Master Uguay, some crazy dude like that. But I would take that advice and I would really start to ask myself, like, okay, what does this mean if I controlled my emotional intelligence, I controlled my emotions, and I started to breathe during situations? What would that do to me? Car would pull up, basically almost hit me, and I would just breathe. And I wouldn't be mad at all. I'd feel so good in that moment.
Yeah. No road rage, huh?
Exactly. Even though I sometimes I do, but it's in those moments, it's like, okay, that felt really good, and I felt really good about myself. How many more of those could we stack up? You do that over a couple 12, 15 months, and it just starts to become who you are.
I love that. So something that stood out to me, or that does stand out to me about you, because we've became great friends over the last, I guess we can say over the years now, over the last several years. And everywhere we go, you get a compliment that stands out to me, and it's, you ask great questions. So how do you do that?
So, and you ask tremendous questions as well. I've learned a lot from you of how to ask questions. But if I want to get you to realize something or do something as my brother, right, as my friend, I understand our egos as men to where let's say we don't know each other as much, and I tell you to do something, like, you won't take it at any face value. Like, you will not even question it. It might even do worse for you, where you might even say, screw you, I'm going to do the opposite.
That's sometimes the way ego works, right?
And that happens to a lot of people, whether it's your parents, whether it's your teachers, whether it's your best friend, whether it's your mentors, whatever it is. So what I've learned is that if I want you to understand something, the only way is to get you to understand it for yourself and for it to be your own idea. For example, if you need to lose weight, I ask you the questions of like, dude, how do you feel? Like, how are you feeling right now? How does your body feel? I've been working out a little bit. I feel pretty good. How do you feel in your body? And I start to ask you these type of questions. And then eventually you get to a point, many people get to a point where it's like, I know I should work out. I know I should do that. So instead of being like, dude, you could just go to the gym and start doing this. Like, I'll show you all these workout plans. Instead of that, I'm like, dude, I know, like, I work out a pretty good amount, but even then, like, I still struggle like quite a bit. Like, what do you think that is for you? Like, what's the way for you to actually start working out? And they'll say some stuff, and I'll keep asking them questions like, interesting. I mean, how would you feel? Like, if you went to the gym, like, let's just say we went together, we started working out, we start eating good and feel good. Like, how would that make you feel? I'm just curious. And eventually they get to a point where it's like, they attach their answer and the solution to their problem and the way to do it. But it all came from them, their idea. So
that's good.
The next morning they're like, I know what to do.
Yeah.
I should go to the gym. I'm motivated. That's what I have found, because as someone who was in sales, I needed to make sure that I was able to show that person what they needed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the way of doing it, asking the right questions to show them what they needed.
So let's take that a little deeper, because something that you had permission to do in my life and still do is you would tell me what to eat, not to eat when we're hanging out. Because you asked me a series of questions. You basically got me to say, I don't know what the heck to do to lose weight, right? And you're like, I'll help you. You generously offered to help me. And so as we were at various events together, you'd be like, no, put that bread back. and you would inspire me every morning, hold me accountable to get to the gym and do workouts I didn't think I could have ever done.
Right.
So how do you tell when that switch flips for someone, where you go from just asking them questions to give you feedback to now having permission to speak into their life at the next level?
So I had a lot of conversation with friends recently about it. So this is very fresh on my mind, and I'm still learning about the process in which to do it. But if we're at a table with different friends, right? Number one, I'll never tell you like a learning moment in front of the other people.
Right.
Because you'll even worse, the ego not take it even worse than that. So I wait till it's just us, and that's where I'll have that conversation with you. And I'll just tell them straight up, like, hey, like, how are you at taking advice, or how are you at taking coaching, you know? And typically they'll tell me, I'm good, I'm great, super amazing at it, tell me, right? Or, you know, not so well, or whatever it is. But they'll always ask, like, why, do you have something for me? I'll say, you know, if someone's really close to me, like, I'll always want to tell them different things that I see. But of course, I just want to make sure that, you know, it's receptive, it's taking well, because it comes from the heart. And I'll tell them that, because it's true. Like,
yeah.
if you're in my life and you're not as close to me, right, I'm going to let you do what you need to do, and let that play out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because otherwise we spend, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, but it's like, you know, we don't even like each other, for example. But if I love you, if I like you as a person, and I want to help you, then you know, you kind of have to invest in that person, sit with them for an hour, and start to give them that advice.
Yeah.
But when you see that change in someone, your relationship with them starts to grow tremendously. But then they'll do the thing. And that's true influence that you see from people. It's like they will start working out, and they will start saving more money, and they will start eating healthier, and they will start treating people better.
Yeah.
You know, because if someone's an ass, they're not gonna know fully that they're an ass until someone lets them know genuinely.
It's true.
You know?
Yeah, self-awareness. So when it comes to you doing that, and you've done that for me a lot, and I am very appreciative of that, because I know it does come from the heart. And I think that's what makes a huge difference, is because if somebody's just coming up to come up and say something, you know, some random stranger, right? It's like ego immediately. Like, I ain't listening to you. But when it's somebody who you know it's genuinely has a heart and cares about you, I think that takes it to another level. So as you're building relationships, and that leads me to this question, you are extremely intuitive. And I've watched you turn. So it's interesting. My dad growing up, I always remember we would meet someone, and he wasn't a negative person, but he would make this comment. He would say, I don't care for them. I can't put my finger on it. That was his exact words. I can't put my finger on it. I just don't care for them. And almost inevitably, months or years later, you would wind up seeing why. And, you know, my dad's 72 now. And I have never seen someone, and especially, I met you when you were, what, 18, who is so intuitive at you, as you, and so early. So where does that intuitiveness come from? You meet somebody, you're talking to them, you're asking great questions, and then you're like, immediately know, hey, this is somebody I maybe want to do business with. This is somebody I want to be a very close friend with, or this is somebody who I'm okay never talking to again. Where does that come in for you?
So my mom, my sister, and my grandfather. My mom, my sister, of course, are female, and they're very intuitive, genuinely. And ever since I was 3, they would teach me about how women think. Of course, them as women, how they think, and how other women as an average might think, right? And how a man might think. So they started teaching me psychology really early. Look at their eyebrows. Try saying this, see what their eyebrows do, right? Say this, see what their left eye does.
You're
You see
revealing
it?
your secrets today.
You see that? You see that person's left eye, how it twitches? What does that mean? Tell me, what do you think it means? We would keep going through that. Look at their toes. Are they pointed this way, that way? When you say that and turn their toes this way, what does that mean? It means they want to leave the conversation, right? And of course, there's instances where my toes are all over the place sometimes.
Yeah.
But as a general view, my mom and my sister taught me how to feel emotions and how to feel other people through. And she taught me my job is to make people feel comfortable or make people feel the way you want to make them feel, right? If you want to give them comfort, give them comfort. If you want to make them feel empowered, you have to, number one, be empowered first and then give them that feeling. But as you're talking, pay attention to how they're feeling. And even if they have a poker face, if they hide it, you could still see instances in their eyes, like those type of things.
Yeah.
My grandfather, he would always pay attention to everything as well. Like, we would play a game when we're at dinner, typically at a Chinese restaurant. He would say, Leo, come here. What do you think they are? What do you think they do? A group comes in, and I would guess, like, I don't know, carpenters, or I would guess painters. And he would tell me, no, none of those, right? He would hear different words that they're saying. He would look at their shoes, and he's like, they can't be painters, look at their shoes, right? One of them would have some paint splotches on their shoes. And he would eventually say things like truckers, because they're in the trucks all day. They're just, you don't have to use your shoes much. Look at their shoes, and they're all wearing trucker hats. Like little things like that make you pay attention to everything. It makes you watch everything around you. That person's wearing this, look at that person's watch. That guy has clean socks, clean socks, like tires are new. That must mean something.
Right.
You know what I mean? That person has really raggedy. I have really raggedy socks, which sometimes, again, there's instances. Yeah. But when you could pay attention that deeply, when we're in a conversation like this, I can see how you feel most of the time. And I know it's my job to make sure that you uncross your hands eventually without me telling you doing that.
Yeah.
Right? And little things like that, I think it really does hold true to somebody's ability to impact someone's life.
That's really good social awareness and being able to read people. But taking that one notch deeper, because we'll be at a conference together, because we have a few businesses together now. Mm-hmm. And we'll be at a conference together, and we'll leave, and like immediately after you've had a 5 or 10 minute chat with somebody, I can tell you sometimes immediately are like, that's someone we will want to do business with for a very long time. And other times I can tell that conversation's over. You don't think another thought about it. Mm-hmm. What's the difference in those two conversations for you?
Well, let's say you and I, we don't know each other, right? I'm saying, Andrew, hey, nice to meet you. How are you? How's your mind? How's your soul? Like a super deep question like that, you'll tell me how it is, right? Mm. And the way you respond to that will show me your values and how much you think about yourself and how much you think about others and how much you think about the people around you. How's your mind? How's your soul? Oh, it's going good. I didn't, meditated this morning. I'm feeling good. My kids are happy. My mind is good. I'm struggling with a couple of things, but I'm here. I'm with you guys. I'm happy. And as soon as I hear something like that, I'm like, that guy has done a lot of self-development. Mm. That person in a stressful situation will not be as shaky.
That's good.
But you can learn that in the first 10 seconds of a conversation by just not asking, how are you? Because we'll just say, how are you? I'm good. How are you? I'm good. Where are you from?
Surface level.
You want to make sure that you cut straight to the throat.
Yeah.
But when people say that, it's like, I don't want to be too pushy. But I'm just asking, like, how's your soul? Like, how's your mind going? Like, they'll always appreciate it.
That's good. That's a deep connection too, because I see people. I remember the first event where we met, and guys who have been in the business for many years, who are much older than both of us, and yet you was making such an impact in that first 12 hours of ever being in a room like that because of the philosophies that you hold. What would you say is your philosophy on life?
My philosophy on life, if I just babble, if I just put it out there, it would be to treat yourself as a project, always continue to learn and understand yourself, and know that through that process, the way that you're going to feel the most fulfillment is by adding service and value to others. And when you can add that value to others and learn through that, it's like a very great equation for enjoyment. You know, if my focus is to make sure you're successful, you're happy, you're comfortable, you're the best person that you are, and that I treat that as my university, then my values are based upon what I do. There's no way of me to not live by my values. It's setting a principle of like, okay, the equation is my values of integrity, my value of giving to others, my value of honesty, transparency, those things, and I laid it on a platter and I mix it all together. What would I get? Utilizing that as your day-to-day.
Yeah.
You know, that analogy doesn't really make sense, but I'm sure the people who understand it, it'll grasp. It's like words that they're like, oh, I know what that means. Because I don't even know what it means, but that's how I live, you know?
Wow. What would you say, because like you're 21 now, right? 21. So we're doing business together. We've built a real estate company together. We built an education company together. Now we're building the company together we'll talk about in a minute that more serves the mission, the vision. And I think it's exciting, like we was talking before the cameras come on, because not only do people get to watch this now and see kind of behind the scenes of us having a chat,
Right.
but years down the line, when Truca is what it's becoming, people can look back and go, wow, those young guys had that mindset and vision back then, right? And you said that before we went live. So I think that's a very neat perspective for what we're discussing here today. But what would you say, because I've had a lot of partnerships over the years, some great, some I still have, and some not great. And when we started buying our first properties together, it was just that. We was just buying properties together. And then it evolved into more and more and more. Now the businesses we built together. So what was that? If you was talking to somebody who's 19 or 20 and thinking about partnering with somebody, what was it you saw in myself, or what would you be looking for in someone who you believe you could have a lifelong relationship with and a long-term partnership with?
What I was looking for 3 years ago was I was sitting down with a good buddy of mine and I asked him, like, how did you two find each other? It was two great partners. And I asked him, and it was very different, the advice that they gave me from other people. It was like, oh, go to network events, you might find someone, like very surface level. But this guy just said, like, find someone who's been in the business longer than you have and has strong values and is missing something. So I said, okay, that's what I'll keep in the back of my mind as I'm networking. Because I didn't know I was looking for a partner, you know. But as we're going, we talk, and, you know, number one, we collaborate and we connect. And of course, my mentality is always, you know, how can I give value?
Which is exactly what you led with when we met.
And that's all I did. You know, that's all I did. I've always just gave value until we got to a point where it's like, okay, it might make sense for us to do something, right? And that's where we did our first B&B. What I've learned and what I want people to kind of understand as they're going through a partnership is we had very open communication. Like, we're just going to do one. Let's just try one and see how it goes. You know what I mean? It's just like going on one date. You know, we're just going to go on one date, see how it goes. And that's what happened, is that we did our Airbnb. It went well. It was a fun experience, and money was involved. There was transactions involved. Perfect. That went really well. Okay, let's do another project. But let's just do one other project. So we did another project. That went really well. It was fun. We learned. We collaborated, and it was an enjoyable and profitable experience. The greatest things about business, right? And the greatest things about a partnership. Perfect. From those two things, did I learn enough about your values? If so, could we do another deal? Could we do another project? Could we go into a deeper partnership? And you to me as well, right? And it's understanding how our communication is. And of course, that was kind of the time where we were going through different periods of our life where we had to understand each other's emotions, understand each other's values more. That's when we would travel. But that's the perfect thing. I think a lot of people, if they really want to go into a deeper partnership, a business partnership, they have to go travel with that person. See if they're okay with that person in the worst times, when you guys get lost or when you guys are both super hungry and don't have anything to eat. You know, and you're pissed, and then you're talking about business because a deal's going sideways. that's when you'll find out.
You speaking from experience?
Truly, I 100% am. That's where you find out, will this person have my back?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the deepest things about like food and hunger and cold and you're mad and everything, how would that person treat me in that moment?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we found out through each other, like I'm an asshole when I'm hungry. You know what I mean? But you always know foundation, I got your back.
Yeah.
Right? And boom, I eat something, I'm good. Again, for you, it's the same thing. I find out how you are. And then we get instances in the business where things go wrong, things go sideways, and we have I always say, the opportunity to go the wrong way, to go against our values. And I've seen it so many times where we've been okay, where we've gone through it. It could go sideways, but we always choose to go with our values.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question. Something I think is very important, always, but like especially today, because the political climate is the way it is, and business is interesting. Like our country has all sorts of challenges that we're going through as a country, and it seems like there's a epidemic of loneliness. And we'll get to connection in a moment. But before we get to connecting people and connection, you was talking about what to look for in a partner. What does brotherhood mean to you?
So I don't have blood brothers in my life. I grew up raised by my mom and my sister and my dad, who did not teach me brotherhood because he had a brother, but he was the baby child. He was the lucky child. So he was babied as well, you know. And I didn't have any masculine figures in my life until I was like 19, like very recently. And that's where I learned about brotherhood. I learned about what that meant and how important it is to me. Where as soon as I learned that, I said, okay, I want to figure it out. I want to create brotherhood bonds in my life. And of course, there's a very limited amount of people who can do that, or who can see what brotherhood means to them outside of blood. You know what I mean? From the people who don't have brothers, from the people who do have brothers, it's like I ask them, and a lot of people don't really fully understand it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've noticed from my life, out of the friends that I've had, I've only kept, let's say in high school, I've only kept about one or two of them. And it boils down to the values that they hold. And most of the time it's loyalty. Most of the time it is trust, loyalty, and just, honestly, I think it's just loyalty. Like that really goes down to the basis of it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people in our lives that we see things happen and they'll turn against them. And it sucks to see, but the brothers that you know, loyalty is part of their heart and their soul. You just know that you can say the things out loud, and you go through thick and thin with them. And that builds a strong bond where it's like, you tell the person before you end the phone, I got you, whatever you need, I got you. You know, and it's real. And I've only had that with a few people where it's truly like, yo, whatever you need, you just let me know.
Yeah.
You know, if you need money, like even with the money, when I'm going through a hard time and I talk to the person, that person offers it. Or when that person's going through a hard time, like, dude, I know you don't want to take, if you need money, you should let me know. Those deep conversations of like, yo, if I'm back against the wall, they'll have me. I think that's what true brotherhood is. And my sister's the same thing. Like my sister I'll take care of her for the rest of my life, whatever she needs. Same thing with my mom. You know, so I think brotherhood is very similar to that. But also, those are the ones that you should go to cry to like, you know, to ask for help, to ask for guidance, to ask for realness, to ask for that tough love. You know, before you go to your mom or your girlfriend or wife to cry to, like try to go to your brothers first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what's taught me a lot, because I used to go to my mom always first. And she would give me advice. But what I've noticed, if you look at a data set, right, the advice that, you know, my brothers have given me, it's allowed me to be a stronger person and persevere through it. Whereas, my mom always gives great advice, but like other girlfriends in my life in the past, the advice that they gave me always made me softer as a person.
It makes sense. What do you say to someone who is maybe feeling lonely and wants that brotherhood? Is that something that you find and you're like, this is going to be likely be a brother that I'm going to have for a long time? Or is it something where you meet them and you don't know that until you've hung out like 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 times?
Yeah, I think it's about asking yourself what you want in a brother or what you want in a good friend, you know, and then asking yourself, am I that person yet? Like, I want someone supportive. I want someone who is working out every day, makes good money, and is always going to be there for me and is trustworthy, but you can't be trusted. Or, but you don't make any money, or you don't add any value, but you want this. It doesn't make sense. That person wants the same things. They want someone who can be there for them and is loyal and adds positivity and value to them. Maybe the money's not a big deal, you know. Someone, and that's a big important part. It's like, because if we're brothers, like if you're up here or down here, it doesn't matter,
right?
Because I know your values and I got you, right? So it's a mix between like, what values do you want in that person? What do you see in that person? What do you want? And do you carry those traits yet? Because if you don't, you're not going to have those people around you by any means.
That's a big one. Because I think, you know, I come through a very difficult time in my life about the time that we met. And I had went through very difficult times in business, spiritually, mentally, everything. And it was very interesting to me because I jokingly have told a few people, Leo restored my faith in humanity. And I say that a bit jokingly, except as we met and we began to have these discussions, I realized, and I mean to say this right, I don't mean to sound harsh, but I realized that the reason I was attracting crap into my life is because I wasn't who I needed to be, right? So here I was focused on the one skill I thought I could bring value in, making money, building business, except I hadn't took care of my health and fitness. I didn't have a great relationship with myself at the time. All of these things I had ignored. And so how could I expect then to have people close to me who had the values that I would desire in a great friend when I wasn't living those? Even if I thought I believed them, I wasn't living that. So I think that's a big breakthrough for me. And when we connected, and like I said, you got me in the gym, you got me changing all those things, I began to realize it's a whole lot more about becoming the person who you want to attract. And that's a big deal.
You know, a lot of people could make those changes, like, because everyone says, like, I want to change, I want to be better.
Yeah.
And it's very simple that if you do the foundations, you'll be better. But a lot of people just don't do it. They just don't do the fundamental workout 5 days a week, drink more water, do sales calls, go find a mentor. Like these fundamental things that allow you to be a good man, be a good business owner, manage yourself well, lead people. All these things that'll give you a better life, people just don't do. But then when you do it, when you become a person of caliber and a person who's been consistent in your life in something, you can start to be consistent in other things, right? So when you see someone who's not, I know I can help you and I can get you to that next level if you just did those things, if you just went to the gym.
Yeah.
But most people won't do it. Most people won't go to the gym. If you say, dude, if you just go to the gym, you start showing them about how to, this comes from experience because I used to just tell people to do stuff.
Yeah.
Because I did it, but I didn't realize how hard it actually is to go and do the thing.
It's a whole habit change.
Exactly. But when someone is coachable and they come at you with humility and they're like, brother, I just want to help. I just want to work. I just want to get better.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever it takes. You know, and for us as coaches, right, and people coming to us, we kind of just say, bro, just work out for a week, come back. If we see that they worked out for a week, we're so happy. We're like, dude, I will give you all my time.
You're one of the few.
To do what I will make you the best person ever. Because if you just do the thing, you can just come back and I'll keep telling you the next thing to do and the next thing to do to get to where, at least to where I am, and maybe more. But most people just don't have that thing. They just don't stay consistent in the thing. But for you, you were that way.
Yeah.
I just told you what to do in the gym, you did it. And you lost some weight. Like, I didn't do much. I just gave you a workout plan.
Yeah.
And I was in the gym with you and I helped you break through things, but it's because you just wanted it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's good. Well, and I think that's what makes someone a good coach is you inspire people. except some people are uninspirable, I guess. That's our job to figure out how to inspire more people, right? So how does that work for you as we're building community? So getting in a little bit to Truca and what we're building and connecting people. It's something that I know is one of your top talents, is connecting people and bringing people together. So what does that mean to you? What's the objective?
So think about when you feel the most connected, truly connected to yourself, to others, and feeling the most plugged into the world, right? Not plugged in social media wise and
Right.
plugged in, but I mean like you feel nurtured, you feel good, you feel soulful. You wake up and you're like, wow, it's beautiful out. Some people don't even have that. And that's a problem. But it's the case of think about when you feel the most connected. How can we recreate that every day? Because for a lot of people, it's when they're with family, when things are going good, and maybe it's Thanksgiving time, they're all together, and they got their cousins, and they're feeling really good, and they feel connected, and it heals them, right? When you meet someone who understands this, you kind of get healed by them because you're seen again. Somebody sees you for who you are as a human, for who you are as a spirit, and you start to feel whole again, like I belong here, and I'm here for a reason, and everything I'm doing is for a reason. That's what makes you feel connected when you have someone on that same level as you that cares about you, right?
Yeah.
But how can we have that every single day? How can we create that type of community in our life every day where we're helping each other? I see you, I hear you, I want to collaborate with you, but I want to do that with other people as well. Where we might have our core people, like I have my probably 10 people closest to me that I care the most about, that if the world goes down, like I would build a bunker and an island with my 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But on the outside scope, it's like you can create so much connection with good people around you. You could find more of those 10.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have one out of those 10. Somebody don't even have that one person that they can connect with well. So that's the problem that I want to solve with people. And we're seeing it through how we communicate with ourselves.
Yeah.
Because if you want to find any of those people, let's say I have 10, if you want to find any of those, you have to first come to terms of who you are and how you enjoy to be in this skin.
That's good.
Because if you don't enjoy the skin that you walk in, if you don't look in the mirror and feel good and feel connected to you, you will not be connected to anybody. It doesn't make sense practically. And I want to say that so I don't sound entirely philosophical, because I'm a very philosophical type of person, but imagine you look in the mirror and you don't even love yourself. You don't even like yourself. You don't even want to be around yourself. You don't want to be in the skin. And then you meet someone else. They're going to feel all that insecurity and all that hatred that you have inside of you. And it really is skin crawling for a moment when you think about that, because that's a reality for a big percentage of the population.
Probably the majority.
So you have to start with understanding yourself and loving yourself and being able to look in the mirror and notice how bad you talk about yourself. And the way that I did it in the beginning was like, imagine you take yourself out of you for a day. You spend a day with this person. But all the thoughts are now out loud. And now as you go to the mirror, this person is calling you ugly all throughout the day and calling you stupid and calling you worthless piece of shit. All these different things. As you're eating, fat ass, fat, all these different words are coming out. You wouldn't spend another minute with that person. Or if it was your friend saying that stuff to you, you would get rid of that person instantly. But we live with that person inside of our mind, and we think that it's us talking about ourselves, to ourselves. That we're ugly, that we're worthless, that we're fat. So when you look in the mirror, why do you think you're depressed? Why do you think you're sad and you hate everybody else? Because you haven't come to terms with starting the process of building a relationship with this body and soul and mind that you have.
Let's say somebody's watching and goes, holy crap, that's me, right? Let's say that they looked in the mirror this morning and those thoughts was rolling through their mind. Where do they start to find that self-love and to actually gain the journey from that person who talks so horribly to and about themselves to in a year looking back and going, oh my goodness, like, thank you, God, I'm transformed.
So a lot of people think they're alone in that process. But I think nowadays people know that more or less a lot of people are going through this. But it's about understanding that you're not alone, right? You have people who are here for you, who want to guide you through that process. And it's about sitting down for a moment and just taking that deep breath and first telling yourself that all the words right now going through my mind, it's not me. I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my words. And I'll try to go a little bit deeper than that of an actionable that you can do, because a lot of it is just realizing that that's not me. Your brain is trained to repeat things back to yourself, and trained by habit to call yourself whatever you want to call yourself,
right.
However you want to feel. But then how we feel is determined by our thoughts that roll through our minds. Okay? So because of that, whatever thoughts are rolling through your subconscious, through your mind, is what's going to create into your habits, is what's going to create into your actions. So if you're constantly listening to rap music, if you're constantly watching television that is not good for you, if your parents are constantly telling you you're not shit, if other people are constantly telling you you're not shit, what gets filled in this bucket in your mind is those words. So our minds will start to bring those words back up. And that's where we go in the mirror and we feel that way. We feel like we're not shit. We feel like we're fat. We feel like we're worthless because we keep saying those things to ourselves. So your actions are based on what you believe in yourself. If you feel worthless, you're going to do worthless things. You're going to do action where if we sit right here, I'm going to feel like I'm worthless. I'm not going to answer these things fully. I'm not going to look at you, right? I'm going to hold myself a little bit more. I'm going to sit in the corner a little bit more. And I look like this. Right? I look like that, and it starts to see it that way. It starts to feel that way. You feel my insecurity when I do that.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's a good explanation.
When you could just sit down and realize that it's your environment, it's the music, it's the movies, it's the people, all the things that are feeding into your brain that cause you to say these things. How do you break out of it? Honestly, I would say number one is the awareness. Number two, start affirming yourself opposite. Start going into the mirror and don't lie to yourself. If you're fat, honestly, don't go in the mirror and say, I'm so skinny.
Right.
Because your brain's going to call you a liar, lose respect in yourself. But if you go in the mirror and say, this is how I am, I'm growing every day. I'm working on myself. I'm growing every day. I'm working on myself. I'm growing every day. I'm working on myself. You say it over and over again. At least you'll be someone who is working on themselves.
Right.
3 months later, if you just keep doing that and actually do the actions that are promoted through those words, you'll be in the gym and you'll look in the mirror and you'll lose 40 pounds. Right? That's why I have no sympathy when it comes to people being more overweight, unless they have a condition that causes them to do that. But it's like, go eat healthy and go to the gym for a certain amount of time and say the right things to yourself for a prolonged period of time. And you'll gain so much more respect from yourself and from others.
I think it's interesting too, because a lot of people, and we experience this in business too, a lot of people, whether it's going to the gym or eating right or not making more money or whatever it might be, it comes from a lack of clarity.
Right.
And so for me, when you said go to the gym and do A, B, and C, I had no problem. Most people probably listening to this don't have a problem with a discipline, right? You have the discipline to go to work every day, right? Or to raise a kid if you're a parent, or to whatever. Like, every one of us has disciplines, except we haven't chose to or had clarity of putting that discipline toward this thing. And so you told me that. You said, Andrew, you're one of the most disciplined people I know when it comes to this business. So why don't you put a little bit of that discipline toward, and it was, for me, it was lack of clarity. And the moment I had clarity on what to do once I got to the gym, because I had went like 3 times, and then like 7 minutes later, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm doing a few setups and getting the heck out of here, you know? And so I didn't realize it was supposed to hurt. So once you gave me the regimen, now it made sense. So what would you say when someone's wanting to get to the next level in working out, in communication, in business? Like, what is that switch to go from I don't know what to do next to, okay, I have clarity and discipline. This is my step.
So I think discipline is one of the most understood things in people, because I think it's thrown around like you just got to have discipline. My generation, I look at it, we almost have no discipline. We have certain disciplines, right? We're very disciplined when it comes to eating and eating nice things. Of course, it's habit now.
Yeah.
So we're disciplined in certain sectors of our lives. I believe that with a discipline, it's a mixture of ingredients. It's a mixture of the motivation that gives you either enough pleasure or removal of pain. There is an easeability of it, and then there's an expectation.
Yeah.
Those three things together. When I went to the gym for the first time, I was very undisciplined, but I had a motivation. I wanted to look less skinny because it was painful getting called skinny. And I wanted to be able to impress girls. This is when I was getting started at like 13, right? So I had a big thing of like, okay, I don't want to be in pain anymore. So the act of doing a bench press or sweating was less painful than getting called skinny. So that was the easy one. I always liked women from the very jump. And that was something that was easily a motivator for me.
Yeah.
Doing this means more women? Okay, perfect. I want to do that.
Do this all day, baby.
Exactly. There was an external factor of someone pushing me.
Yeah.
And an expectation. Because it was my ex's sister and her boyfriend that was taking me to the gym. Right? And I would have that expectation of going with them and making sure that I kept going. Right after, that's where my more of my motivations came from, right? Of making sure that I backtrack a little bit. I started to post it on social media as Coach Chun. So now I had that expectation to
That's
show
what you
up.
were on social media when I
Yeah, exactly. That's how I started, is putting an expectation on myself for it.
Yeah.
And then easeability, making sure that a gym's right there, right? Or putting my shoes out, making it very easy to just put my shoes on, drive 10 minutes to the gym and I'm there, or being able to just put my shoes on and start running.
Yeah.
So I think those three factors create the discipline. If you could find that in everything that you do, discipline starts to get a lot easier.
That's good. What now drives you? We have a lot of great conversations, and that was, again, my objective today was, as much as possible, just continue our conversations we have, because there's so many breakthroughs you've helped me have. There's so many great conversations we've had, and I think as a snippet of that is revealed to the world, I think a lot more people are going to have breakthroughs, and I know we're working on several projects at high levels of impact. What drives you? What makes you that driven?
I think the drive nowadays comes from wanting, number one, to continue a world where we get to live like this, where we get to wake up and be very grateful for the sun and very grateful for wherever we are in the world, right?
And live like what? Clarify what that means.
Live in peace,
Yeah.
Mentally peaceful. And the world is always going to be in, different types of chaos, but mentally peaceful with my core people that I love, and I get massive amounts of fulfillment doing my work. And if I could just do that, I can do that for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah.
I think number one, it's a continuation of that. I want to create a world where I can continue to do that. So that involves making sure our country is continuing to work in coordinates, right? Making sure to protect our country, that our country is safe and able to continue our freedom.
And let me interrupt you there. This is another thing I love about you. You always are so rapidly willing to accept coaching from people who you love and know are speaking to your life from a pure heart. And you're always listening and learning. And hearing you say that is very neat to me, because that's, at least from my perspective of knowing you, that's newer coming from you. Is that accurate?
It is.
Yeah. So where does that come from?
I mean, I grew up on the patriot side. I would say is like I grew up programmed of like, okay, this is just our country. This is how it is. My history was like what happened in the 80s, in the 70s, like, and it was so far back.
Yeah.
So you don't think about like the U.S. is only a couple. How 100 years old?
A couple hundred years old, yeah.
And it's like
1776.
This type of freedom isn't a normal thing around the world.
No.
And you start to think like, wow, we were born into, we talked about this morning, we were born into a country where we have freedom, we have the ability to have a business that provides us more freedom and the ability to do the things that we love to do. Yeah. We get to travel the world, we get to help people, we get to be in a mental, peaceful state. We get to work on ourselves, develop our minds and those type of things. It's really fun, it's really enjoyable, and it's really purposeful. Also adding a lot of value to multiple people, many people, several people, as many as you can reach.
Right.
So when I started to understand where our country has been and where our origins are and what we stand for, I start to look at the opposition, right? What opposes against that type of freedom? And is it fair? Is it just? All those different types of things go through my mind. And then I look at my life. Okay, I enjoy my life. I think I add a lot of value. I think that if the people around me live this type of way and they enjoy themselves, they can help the people around them and around them and around them and go worldwide. And of course, there's little points and pieces that don't fully allow total freedom, but I do believe that our country, being able to come to this country, be free, build something that you love, help other people is truly a blessing.
Yeah.
So the first thing, honestly, that came to mind is just protecting that, protecting our ability to be free.
That's awesome. I don't know if this part will make it onto the podcast or not, but I have to ask. As we're building Truca out, what do you see happening with connecting people? I guess first off, what is Truca to you? And then what do you see over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years with what we're building and how it's going to impact the world?
I see Truca as our way of life, as our philosophy of living, of how we have that peace of mind, how we help others as a pure value. I think it's our values encapsulated into a philosophy, right? Where we have the freedom, we do the things we love to do, we help others as a main core. We're very transparent, and we have the loyalty between everything that we do. I think that encapsulates a part of our overall, how do you say?
Values?
Overall philosophy.
Right.
You know, and what Truca is essentially connecting those people who have the same similar values around them. Because if you have that type of core group around you, you can do a lot of different things and you can put your energy towards different efforts. And what I'm not seeing so much in the country is unity. And we're the United States of America, right? And I'm not seeing that pure unity in people. So I look at that, I'm like, okay, here's one thing that I do have fear. I never like to put a fear out there, which maybe we will cut it out. But a concern is like that this work that we're doing goes against a lot of people's ideals, a lot of the opposition's ideals of like, okay, it's like almost building up a revolution, right? Of free thinkers.
It's almost good versus evil by now.
And that scares me a little bit. And when I think about that, I'm like, that's good. Because it is truly the thing that's going to allow us to break through the noise and build a very strong group of free thinkers who want to add value to others, who want to take care of their health, who want to take care of their bodies, who want to take care of their families, who believe in strong, not traditional values per se, but strong values. It could be traditional, it could be some new, it could be a mix of both, but very practical, right? I think, when I think about this, it's very practical. We eat healthy. We treat others with respect. We add value to others. We do good ethical business. We drink water, like good quality water. We care about always having better quality water around us. We care about what, who's coming into our board, all these different types of things, protecting our families. I think it's very practical when you go to the very basis of it. And I think it's not necessarily that's what Truca is, but imagine a group of those people who are very practical and like go back to the core fundamentals of like, okay, I think this is the way that if God was like, hey, this is the way to live, like,
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to live. You get enough of those people to see what is happening to our country, what is happening to us in our minds with the algorithm, what is happening to all these things. Maybe we can stand up. We can build a business. We can build things that allow us to open up other people's minds, other people's eyes, where they can start living this way. That's a really important part, where they start to live this freedom now, but also when they come to a point where they want to help out, you can build a business that, gives a percentage to help other people.
Like we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what I'm so passionate about, because if we truly just get people to think like this, practically, and it's very, and the way I say that so much, because go against the idea of drinking more water.
Right.
Put all our ideals here. See if they can go against that. Drink more water. Be a good person. Do ethical good business. Yeah. Go against this opposition. Like
good
oppose
values.
Against it. You can't.
Yeah.
Unless you're a bad person.
Right. Right.
So it's like, if we can just
unfortunately, there's a few of those in this world.
100%. And that's where a lot of my passion like comes out. Yeah. It's like,
I love that.
Damn.
I love that. Where does that passion come from? Like you get talking about that. You shift. You go from talking a certain way to more passionate. Why does that passion show up now with Truca and what we're building?
I never understood why people love the country so much.
Yeah.
And people could say, I love my country. I always be like, oh, the fucking rednecks don't understand. It's like, what that? And it's like,
Careful now, you're in Kentucky. No, okay.
I love my mom.
Yeah.
I love my family. I love my dog. I love my business. I love waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
Those are things I really love. But what gives me those things is the country. What gives me those things is God. Right? I love those things, clearly. And I think love is passion. Love is pure.
Yeah.
And that love I have is the same. Like my love for my mom, that's my country right there.
Yeah.
If we don't have the country, there's no position where my mom is free, where my mom is happy, where she has that peace of mind.
Yeah.
So I attach the country, I attach God to my mother. Yeah. To my mother, to my good friends, to my good people.
Yeah.
So that's why my passion goes there, because if you take away my country, if you take away my business, if you take away my people, it's like you're taking away that part of the soul, of the freedom that, I personally am so passionate about.
And then somebody's watching this, who knows when, and if this part makes it to the podcast, how did we come up with the desire for Truca to become a culture-shifting company? Where did we combine our visions? How did that come about? How did that come together?
I think for us, it's asking ourselves what we want at the fundamental level for people.
Yeah.
And it goes into what I said earlier, and mixing that with how. How do we do that? Right? How do we make sure our country is growing in a good, strong way? How do we make sure our ideals as people continue to grow? How do we make sure our freedom is protected? How do we make sure we're feeling the strongest, the best as humans that we can, so we can continue to add value to people, so we can continue to be good people of the world, right? And continue to have these type of conversations.
Yeah.
And what we've understood that it's because of our education, because how we've learned. I personally didn't go to college. You were homeschooled, but you were taught by your parents, and they gave you strong ideals.
Right.
But then again, you had your own mind to learn different things as you go on, and always cross-reference. You were always able to cross-reference. That's what a free thinker does.
Right.
I went to traditional school. I didn't go to college, but during COVID is when I kind of broke through my mind. I was like, oh, wow, you see a new world. You start asking questions. My mom always told me, be a free thinker. Always ask why. Why does that make sense? She always said, if the government says anything, ask why.
That's good advice.
100 times.
It's really good advice.
Until you get to the deepest core of why they're saying it.
Yeah.
And that's why you study history. That's why you look at trends in the future. And you always think like that. I just wish, like my wish with what we're doing is that we get people to think like this. Because if we don't, then it's a matter of time until our next generation is controlled by the phones. And at that such a young age, especially before you're 7, you're programmed, and that's how you think. And it's going to destroy our ability to think. And like we can think all crazy and not crazy. We can think as practically and strong for our country as possible. Yeah. But if the whole next generation is like that, like that's an army you can't really fight. you know?
Wow. I could talk about this all day. I love this.
We can do another podcast about this later.
We should. Yeah, definitely. I'm having you back. So
100%.
Next time you come to Kentucky or I come to California, okay?
We'll do it.
Deal? All right, brother. Fun time. That wraps it up. Unless
Cool.
you got anything else.
I think that's good. We'll save it for part 2.
Perfect.
Thanks so much for watching. And if you liked that video, hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any more. Comment below what you got out of it. It'll help with the algorithm so we can continue to spread incredible information to awesome entrepreneurs just like you and spread the message. Thanks for all the support.